That Great Business Show, Ireland's best business podcast.
Welcome to episode 165 of That Great Business Show, home of great business tips, insights and opportunities on every episode, delivered in a commute-friendly package thanks to daft.ie, Ireland's #1 property website. If you're looking for your first home or looking to upsize or downsize your abode, make sure you visit daft.ie to find that next place you call home. I'm Conal O'Mora in Fáilte. Huge response to our new mini-series, Beachhead USA, the ultimate crib sheet for anyone setting up a business in the US. On this episode, as part of Beachhead USA, we have a media business owner from Connecticut who toured the world with Pope John Paul II, worked with Hollywood legend Paul Newman, and learn why he refused to take our money. Also, what will we do when the corporate tax cash cow runs dry? Keep listening because your small business may be about to be milked for more. And what's really involved in raising funds on one of those investment platforms? It's tougher than you can imagine. All of the above comes to you thanks to daft.ie, where you should go to find the place you can call home.
If it's for sale, it's on daft.ie, Ireland's #1 property website. Whether you're looking for your first home or planning your next move, make sure you're on daft.ie, the best place to buy or sell in Ireland.
Travel to Connecticut, USA with Aer Lingus service to Bradley International Airport. With the daily flights from Dublin to Hartford, we make business travel to Connecticut easy. Save time with US pre-clearance, enjoy Aer Lingus award-winning flight service, and experience the convenience of Bradley International Airport, perfectly situated for your travel needs. Learn more and plan your next business trip at aerlingus.com.
My favourite economists in Ireland, and you know who you are, have been warning for quite a while not to be reliant on windfall corporation tax takes, particularly from a handful of multinational tech and pharma companies. Those warnings are getting serious now as corporation tax has fallen for 3 consecutive months. The country is running a budget deficit of about €3 billion a year, and add in some one-offs and the state is actually about €9 billion in the red. With an election due, the chances of a personal income tax rises are slim to none, so guess what? If you're in business, you could be picking up the tab for the state's excess spending, and I should add again. Marc O'Dwyer is chair of business lobby group ISME, and Neil McDonnell is CEO, and they join me now on That Great Business Show. Welcome both.
Hello, Colin.
We're in trouble. Neil.
We're not in trouble yet, but we're getting there. It has been coming over the hill for quite a while. As you say, the economists have been saying that corpo tax is gonna decline, and now we're seeing it. And the proof of the pudding will be in the November figures. That's typically when we get the largest slug of it in the whole year. And if it does decline, then it really does send out a warning for next year. We never, despite the fact that we lobby on behalf of small business, we never have a bad word to say about the large businesses because we have an awful lot of small businesses whose only clients are big multinational companies. Despite the fact that they only make up a really small percentage, 0.2% of the businesses in the country, they employ 40% of the workers. 0.2% of the businesses in the country are big multinationals.
I've heard a lot of stats in my time, and that's the first time I've heard that one. That's pretty impressive, or maybe worrying.
Yeah, you get into issues of concentration and how dependent on this lot you are. But where we're coming from is, small businesses employ 60% of people. And when you move away from corporation tax, small businesses, again, into a rather boring, arcane concept, but the notion of net national product in net terms, the pounds, shillings and pence in people's arse pocket, the contribution of small business is 3 times bigger than that of all the multinationals combined.
If there's no overseas multinational money coming in, and we love them dearly, not just because of that, who's going to pick up the tab?
you would have a very painful readjustment among small businesses, but of course the PAYE taxpayer, the person who bears the load most of the time.
But that's not going to happen while there is an election looming. So do your member firms, are they likely to pick up the tab? Are they going to be squeezed? You're not going to squeeze them more.
No, in reality, you're not, because the corporation tax take from the small business sector isn't big. They're marginally profitable. So if there's an effort to extract any more out, what you're actually going to see is insolvencies. And we are starting to see that now. We are seeing businesses getting struck off. We are seeing the insolvency letters coming in. We see it in ISME as much as anyone else. So those businesses have been marginally profitable for a long time, and any attempt to extract more money from them is just going to shutter the doors on a lot of them.
Mark, I mean, if we can't get it from the SMEs or the big MEs or any other MEs, and if it's PAY again, and yet there's an election coming, it's kind of not going to square the circle, is it? Or it's not going to...
No, it's certainly not going to square the circle. And as Neil alluded to, there is a number of liquidations coming up, and there will be more because of the warehousing, the VAT warehousing, when people have to pay that, and the revenue are looking for that to be paid now in March 2024. So that's going to be a challenge for SMEs. But ISME, we've over 10,500 members, representing about 100,000 employees. The employers of those employees do not want extra charges, whether that comes in the form of further tax or another increase on the national minimum wage, which is going up to $12.70, I think, is that correct?
$12.70 from the 1st of January.
Well, who else is going to pay for this? And I'm not suggesting it should be business, because I don't think it should be. But we've 3 in the room have been long enough around to know that business is the easy touch.
Business is the easy touch, but it can be, in some cases, for the government, too easy. And they don't necessarily do any profiling on the effect of new implementations or increases in wages or additional bank holidays or adding to the amount of sick days that people get, which is going up. It's going to be 5 days in 2024, 7 in 2026, and then 10 in 2027. Is that correct?
Correct.
Actually, on that, and I really don't know the answer to this, when those sick days do go up to 5, 6 or 7, do people take those 5, 6 and 7 days, if you know what I mean? You know what I'm actually alluding to here, is do they just say, I'm sick? So
we'd like to say, people wouldn't do that, but in reality, the chances are it will happen, and they'll be taken in whatever format they may be. I'm not going to say directly what it might be.
And that's productivity cost, and that is extra costs for filling gaps and stuff like that, Jim?
Absolutely. But I have to say, Connell, that 10 days sickness absence during a year or on a regular basis would be regarded as problematic absence in the private sector. It doesn't happen. It does seem to be taken for granted. It's not throughout the public service, but it is in some areas of the public service. But if in a business you had people who were regularly taking even 5 or 6 days a year, they would be having a chat or going for an occupational health review via HR. That just isn't taken for granted in the private sector.
Is it my misreading of it, or is the lobbying, and I don't mean the ISME lobbying, but just the business sector in its broadest sense, losing out again, that we're not prominent enough, that isn't a big enough push with government to get them to understand? I know you guys have for decades, maybe
30 years,
been trying to get them to understand the real problems of small enterprises. Nobody seems to have listened in those 30 years, have they?
No, they haven't. And I guess it's because there's been no long-term governmental policies to do with SMEs. So each government comes in with their own policy. They last for 3, 4, 5, whatever the term is, and then it's on to the next one. So, but there's no long-term planning for the country, and that has an effect on small business, and that's why we're lobbying on a regular basis for our members.
And I appreciate that you do lobby on a regular basis, but there still is this kind of, I think it's a disconnect, that they don't understand the pain of the self-employed, how hard people work, like 60, 70, 80 hours a week. Why? To keep going. Why? I love my business. Why? Kind of half mad. It's still the cost of doing business, isn't it?
It is, and unfortunately, we have seen over the last number of years, and the adults in the room outside Ireland have looked at this problem and said, Ireland on a pro rata basis, we're short 115,000 entrepreneurs, most of whom, interestingly enough, are women. Ireland is a great place to start up a business, but it's a very difficult place to maintain a business. So year 2, 3 and 4 and onwards, it becomes very difficult. Unfortunately, in the last 2 years, we've had the dubious distinction of overtaking Denmark as the most expensive country for consumer prices in the Eurozone. Most small businesses pay those consumer prices as well as ordinary consumers. They're much more exposed to the domestic market than a big multinational that's buying from abroad.
So what is the ask when you go into the, I was going to say smoke-filled, they're no longer smoke-filled rooms with the various ministers and or Taoiseach? What are you asking them specifically? Give me 2, 3 things that anybody listening to the podcast, interested in business, loving business, wanting the best for business, should be lobbying as well as you guys for.
Okay,
Marc.
so one, Connell, is very recently we met with Simon Coveney, and at the moment you've got the LEOs, the Local Enterprise Officers, who do a great job, and up to a couple of months ago they only catered for companies at up to 10 staff. Then you have Enterprise Ireland, who are interested in getting companies out of Ireland and exporting. But there was a no man's land for approximately 20,000 businesses where there was no state agency. So we were lobbying them to say, can we create a third state agency, or can you actually look at that gap to help those people? So they have, in the last few months, increased the LEO's remit to 20 staff, but there's still a gap there. Now, he said he'd look at it, but he's not necessarily in favour of putting in a third agency.
Which I understand, and who wants another state agency for various reasons. But if the up to 20 employees is covered, where is the gap? Is there a gap between, say, 20 and 40, or where is it?
It's between 20 and 40, but it's also the size of the business to get them to a stage where they would be exporting off the island of Ireland.
Which
and
is,
going
of course,
to
what we
Connecticut
have to do.
With all your listeners.
Well, I hope they do, because that is where they could do for great business. So what else are you asking ministers and or Taoiseach?
We recognise, for example, that workers are under a huge amount of price pressure. Businesses are not ignorant of the wage demands in the economy that are driven by prices. But what has never worked anywhere is trying to meet the cost of living by bidding up the cost of labour. What will happen, unfortunately, when the minimum wage changes in January, and the minimum wage does not just impact those people who are on $11.30 an hour now. Changing the minimum wage will ratchet all wages up to about €30,000 a year, or €15 an hour odd on the standard working week. Bringing those wages up to $12.70 is not going to make it any easier to afford an apartment in Dublin, for example, or buy a 3-bed semi-D. But what it is going to do for an awful lot of businesses, they have a very limited range of choices, and we tend to represent a lot of people in the services sector. So a couple of things are going to happen. The price of those services or goods or groceries to the consumer is going to go up, or the hours worked by that employee during the week are going to go down, or a combination of both. Or in certain businesses, the boss is going to say, I need you to up your productivity by 10%. In an awful lot of the sectors where we have a lot of members, such as nursing homes, such as childcare, such as grocery, you can't actually extract 10% productivity from the workforce, because, you can't ram another 2 or 3 kids into a room where the state says there has to be a maximum of 8 children to every carer. So productivity is not the solution in some of these areas. So unfortunately, it'll actually cost the worker when their wages go up. That's a really unpalatable thing, but that's a fact. So a lot of what we do, when you ask what does that sort of lobbying look like, Connell, it's to try and convince people, if you want to make the worker wealthier, what you actually have to do is extract cost from their life. You have to work the cost side, not the wages side.
And do you despair that that's not happening?
Yeah, we do, because unfortunately the easiest thing to do is sign a statutory instrument and say, wages have gone up and we've done a great job on behalf of workers. But unfortunately, the real world experience elsewhere around the world, in the United States, on the continent, but also here, the ESRI researches this stuff and would hardly be accused of being a right-wing lobbying group. But they analysed the effect in a report last year, January 22, of the 10% increase in wages over the preceding 3 years. And the effect of that on workers in services and manufacturing was to take 2.5 to 3 worked hours per week off those workers. So it has a real impact on those workers. And we're going to try and do more than that in 1 week in 2024. So this is going to hurt.
Are you both concerned about a change in government if it were to happen in the next election?
Yes, depending on who the
That's really
incoming party is going to be.
To get to,
Yeah. So
What's your concern?
Just concern with some of the policies that our friends who may remain nameless will bring in.
What ones are you worried about? Policies?
Government party or what?
No, I know. Let's put it out there. It's Sinn Féin. Are you worried? Because business is definitely concerned about business of Sinn Féin going to power. Full stop. Isn't that true?
Yeah, because they're going to tax business owners more.
Yes.
Because they see business owners as the wanting to be the get-rich kids, the capitalists of this world, and so they want to take from them and give to the poor, which, you know, is fine. But at the end of the day, somebody has to take up the risk to set up a business, employ people, enable them to pay their mortgages, put food on their table. And it's those entrepreneurs that are out there that are doing that day in, day out, your listeners essentially, Connell, that need to be supported and not hurt or marginalised in any way, because they should be encouraged, in my opinion. I'm obviously biased. I'm 31 years in business. So I don't think that their policies are going to help or aid entrepreneurs in any way. Neil, you might have something on that.
Yeah, and this isn't being political about it. This isn't being, simply criticising those who might come in. I think we're not going to get ageist around the table, Conal, but we're all of a certain age, and I think I'm counting recessions now 5th or 6th. But we actually did try the high tax and high spend throughout the 70s, and we're not blaming Sinn Féin for that, because they weren't in government. They haven't been in government in the Republic yet. But all that did was fully stack out the departure lounge in Dublin Airport, fully stack out the departure lounge in Dublin Port. We simply exported our labour. And it went away until we actually started doing things in the late 80s and the early 90s to get our cost base back on track. We seem to have forgotten the really tough lessons. I went to college in 1987, and I specifically remember the points for engineering in Galway dropping below the points for arts, because there were no jobs for civil engineers, mechanical engineers, electrical engineers in the country. And that's what profligacy and really bad economic policy did for us back then. And we have a genuine worry that some people across the political spectrum, I mean, we see this coming out of government now, the way that we make people wealthier is we tax everyone more and we spend more. We already have marginal rates of taxation over 52%. And for high-earning self-employed, they're higher again. We put a 3% USC levy on the self-employed earning over 100,000. Now, ISME has suggested that be extended to all workers earning over €100,000. And for some strange reason, that proposal has not gained any traction within the public service or with any of the political parties. So to coin an old phrase, we see ourselves as more socialist than anyone else now. We're recommending that 3% USC be applied to all high-earning individuals. And that might focus the mind and focus the attitude of some people who are in jobs which enjoy extraordinarily generous salaries and fabulous pensions. But there is a real danger that we're going to try and tax and spend our way out of a withdrawal of large enterprise or a trimming of the foreign multinational sector. We tried it before. It just doesn't work.
The magic wand, if you had one wish with your magic wand, Marc, for business in the coming year, because I do not ever like to be either negative or even downbeat about it, but I do worry about what's in the future for the next year, particularly with Ukraine, particularly with Middle East, particularly with what we're seeing with our own state finances. It's going to be a tough year.
Oh, it is going to be a tough year, and according to Minister Coveney, he's giving, as per the budget, a gift to small businesses that have rates up to €20,000 a year rebate from January on. But there's people that pay over 20,000 euros that'll get nothing. So if we're in the art room here, Conal, and you have a business and you pay 21,000 euros in rates and I pay 20,000, I'll get 10,000 euros back. What will Conal get back? Nothing. Zero.
Which is nonsense, isn't it?
It's nonsense. So I guess the magic wand would be, give businesses and entrepreneurs more supports, wave your magic wand and be fair to everybody.
But more supports mean you kind of almost brought me back into a circle again. Where's the money? 3 billion in the red, really, but 9 billion even more, really.
Yeah, we have a surplus. We do put on 0.5% on the PRSI, Neil, was it? Which was put on there to pay redundancies, and they've removed the ability for the government to pay the redundancy. The company has to pay the redundancy now, and we lobbied that to Minister Coveney, and he said we wouldn't want to pay redundancies to businesses that are profitable, to make them more profitable, to enable them just to get rid of staff they didn't need. But we're paying it. So it's there, sitting there. And so if sitting there and you're not going to pay it through redundancies, then give it back as some form of grant or payment to small businesses to help them grow and invest in their business.
But isn't it an interesting attitude? It is. I hear in that anti-business.
Correct. They don't think. They're not business people. Half the government are teachers, with due respect to them, and they've never run a business. So they don't know what it's like. But it's businesses that are employing the staff, that are they're buying the goods in the shops and paying the taxes.
Well, to be fair to the Coveneys, 1, 2, 3 of them are in business, are they not? I think they are. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so surely they understand. Surely they have a cup of tea together and say, do you know what, it's tough out there.
That's the genuine mystery, to be honest, Conal. We look at the output. This is over a series of years, and nobody wants to put a hex on the Irish economy or say, we told you so, or now it's gone over the top, and we're tightening up. But when that does happen, big business moves, and especially the big businesses that are paying huge wedges of corporation tax here, they move jobs around the globe, and it's not a big deal for them. It's a big deal if you lose your own job. And I've gone through that twice during the last 2 recessions. And that's not where we want to be as a society when we can see the direction of travel in future. When you asked Marc for his wish list, I think what we would also like to see, and we have lobbied and advocated on behalf of this. I saw or listened to a great business advisor saying that a dollar or a euro or a pound in wages granted is taken, accepted and immediately forgotten. But a dollar or a euro in equity in a business gives a worker a stake. And we have not set up our tax system to facilitate the transfer of equity in a business or allowance for equity in a business to workers. And workers and employers would have aligned interests if we facilitated that. And yet in Ireland we see big business pulling out of our stock exchange. I think there's a real danger that Euronext in Dublin could change if any more big names leave it. We would like to see, and our business owners want to give their employees a stake in their business, but it has to be done right. That's the sort of positive move that the government could make.
It also has to be done because the Irish Pro-Share Association has been at this for years, and I've been working with them on that for years. Hasn't happened, and it's not because for the want of trying. Final question to you both. You've both got the email, I hope. Marc O'Dwyer, who would you hire in a heartbeat?
So I've been on this twice.
Thank you.
Conal. I've been on it twice, and I picked Tommy Kelly and John Purdy. I'm going overseas this time, and I'm going to name a guy called Dwayne Jackson. Dwayne spent a number of years in prison. He was then supported by the Prince's Trust and became a software developer. And he wrote a similar package to Big Red Cloud called Cashflow and sold that to a company called Iris in 2013. He then worked with them for a while, and he went off and wrote another package and then sold it back to them in 2020. So he's come from care homes, through prison, out the other side, and a hugely successful entrepreneur. So Dwayne Jackson.
Dwayne, we want you. We're here for you. And Neil, who would you hire in a heartbeat?
Money, no object, Conal?
Of course.
Okay, so if Marc gave me an enormous budget, a name that many people mightn't have heard here is a lady called Angela Ahrendts. I'm sure you've heard of her, Conal. In the era when Burberry became devalued as the let's politely call it the chav uniform. Burberry decided that, they had, I think it was a century tied up in this brand, and they wanted to take it back, retrieve it from the chavs. And they hired Angela Ahrendts, and she turned it around in a number of years from a £2 billion sterling company to a £7 billion company. And so fast and pure and brilliant was the turnaround that when Apple were going through their own machinations a number of years ago, Tim Cook hired her. And it wasn't said publicly, but when Apple was doing their filings afterwards, she was the highest paid employee bar none, including Tim Cook in Apple.
Whoa.
So she was
a serious and
a serious turnaround operator. So an amazing woman to reposition a brand and a business. So I think she'd be fabulous.
Angela, you're hired as well. That's two very good mentions.
Could I cut in,
Marc?
because you're always looking for deals for That Great Business Show
He's on
listeners.
the hustle. Good for you, Marc.
I am. So, we've sat here for the last 20, 25 minutes speaking about how ISME lobby on behalf of small businesses, but we need members and members need us. And we will offer any Great Business Show listeners a 10% discount for membership of ISME. And there are lots of facilities available through our membership where you can get HR advice. There's an affiliate program. You can sell to our 10,500 members. They can sell to you. And obviously then you get the lobbying on top of that.
What's the minimum admission fee?
€295.
Sounds like a deal. And I presume you write that off against your profits and everything else.
It's a legitimate business expense.
Of course it is. Marc and Neil, thank you so much for joining us on That Great Business Show.
That Great Business Show. De facto, the revolutionary shaving oil, changing the face of shaving. For the smoothest shave of your life, just add water. No more lathering up or cleaning up afterward. Just add a few drops of water and you're ready to go. De facto's blend of all natural oils hydrates and protects your skin. No more razor burns or irritation. A spa treatment for your face. Perfect for all skin types and lasts so much longer than traditional foams or gels. De facto, a shaving revolution. Just add water. Available from selected pharmacies and from defactoshave.com.
Are you buying or selling a home? If it's for sale, it's on daft.ie, Ireland's #1 property website.
Travel to Connecticut, USA with Aer Lingus service to Bradley International Airport. With the daily flights from Dublin to Hartford, we make business travel to Connecticut easy. Save time with US pre-clearance, enjoy Aer Lingus award-winning flight service, and experience the convenience of Bradley International Airport, perfectly situated for your travel needs. Learn more and plan your next business trip at aerlingus.com.
All That Great Business Show advertisers are Team GBS approved. Back them.
We love to follow up on businesses we've had on the podcast previously, making sure they're still thriving and seeing what they're up to next. One such is Juspy, last seen on That Great Business Show on July 2021. Juspy is a protein blend drink made from marine collagen peptides with organic cacao and superfoods, all blended to help keep you from flagging. Juspy founder is Leonie Lynch, and she is living proof of the prowess of her product. She never, ever stands still. She's funding. She's just landed a Supervalu listing. She's got so much more going on. She's got a guaranteed Irish medal. She's was or could have been on Dragon's Den. Leonie Lynch, welcome to That Great Business Show.
I'm exhausted listening to you.
No, but you've just had your Juspy.
I have. I had it this morning in my coffee.
And that has made you zinging full of energy. Does it actually work?
Oh, well, I love that it doesn't allow you to flag. So, yeah, definitely.
And you created it because you were flagging.
Yeah, my whole business experience seems to revolve around me having children. So the first inspiration for Juspy was what I thought was my most tired, most busy after my first baby. So, yeah.
And then you went to have a second baby, and then you've recently had another baby. So,
yes.
Divil for punishment, as they say.
Yes, and it says, surprise, surprise.
So go back now to what I was saying. She is funding. You're funding. Who are you funding with? What are you funding for?
I am funding to grow the business, and I have grappled with the idea of crowdfunding for a few years now. And I decided that now is the time.
And why crowdfunding? Why not friends, family and fools, as they say? Why not a bank loan? Why not whatever?
Well, the friends, family and fools will definitely be involved in this, hopefully. And the bank loans, yes, we're looking at those too. So for me, the crowdfunding always interested me because of the community element of it. And I love the idea of potential and opportunity. So you never know what's going to come of things. And when you're on a platform like Seedr's or a crowd platform like that, anything can happen. So it's a bit exciting and nervous and, it's
But
all of the above.
what are you expecting? That somebody will see it on Seedr's or whichever platform and then suddenly say, I'll have 1 million of those, please?
Not 1 million. That I'm not raising that much, but it's just, for me, money is more about the person behind the money rather than just the money. So my friend would tell me, she's in this investment where, and she'd say, there's easier places to get money now than the crowdfund. Like, it's an incredible amount of work. And there's easier money. So
Paperwork, you mean, isn't that right?
No. Physical, mental preparation, due diligence, creating the video, having conversations, drumming up the pre-registration crowd, having all these platforms, they want you to come to the table with, half of the raise or that some of it to, in promises before they let you actually raise, because they want to guarantee that it's going to be successful, or they want to give you the best chance to be successful. So it's really interesting. I love learning. So learning how this whole platform thing works, or the crowdfund, is really fascinating because of the dynamics of it. The FOMO, the optics of it. Oh my God, the missing out. Your fear of missing out. If someone else invests, I have to get in there. So the spiraling of what can happen. And I've watched a couple of people I know that have raised on a platform, like the Riley girls. Recently, I dabbled with, you can put in anything from €10 up to 1 million if you want to. So there was a peanut butter brand in the UK called Many Life Peanut Butter. So like that, you can, pledge €50 and own a couple of shares, and you're never going to, see too much fruition of that amount. But it's exciting just to know that you're helping this person grow their business and watching their updates, because you get their updates then. So it's kind of a bit of fun.
How much are you trying to raise and what are you going to do with it?
Yeah, so the raise cap we have, or the starting point, is 75,000.
That's a minimum, is it?
So it's a minimum, yeah. So that's a very small raise in the greater scheme of crowdfunding, but it's my first one. So usually the way it works is people start on a small one, and then if I go back in 12 months, it's going to be 1 million, let's say. So the way they judge it is they want you to calculate 12 to 14 months of runway. So what do you need this money for? Which is the most important question before you start, I guess.
And what is the answer?
And for me, it's 3 simple things. I want to drive 3 verticals, which is amazon.co.uk. So the last time I was on with you, it was all about Amazon Launchpad.
That's right, yeah.
And I had gotten on that program. And as great as it sounds, I'm still the one that has to do all the work, and you have to learn how Amazon works. And Amazon is a beast and the most frustrating thing in the planet, but also great opportunity. So I have decided I can't do it myself. I have identified an amazing woman who does this day in, day out. I want to pay her for 12 months to give it the best shot with an advertising budget to see if we can grow Amazon as one channel. That's one thing. The second thing is I need to reskin my website as a Shopify website. So I've used WooCommerce for 4 years now, and WooCommerce is great and everything, but I just need to ramp up the quality and the seamlessness of how it works. And I want to integrate an affiliate and a referral program into it, because the product is so sticky and people are referring it, they should get rewarded for it. So things like that. So that's the second channel. And then, of course, I got listed with Supervalu. I'm in 90 independent health food stores, just getting into a few pharmacies. Medicare in the north have just taken me on. I have a distributor in the north now and 2 in the south. So I need to look after the retail channel as well and grow that marketing material, point of sales.
And you
like
skipped over the Supervalu one, because that is big. And it also means that you, one, have to produce enough product for them, and then you have to service it, and you have to keep those shelves stacked and stocked.
Yes, and you have to keep the shelves pretty. So what I'm looking at is like point of sales for the actual shelf to draw attention. Because I only have one product in 2 different sizes, that can be an issue in retail. So you're trying to create the space on the shelf to draw people in and kind of hold your space so that you own it. So yeah, the Supervalu listing, can I tell you the story of it? It's really interesting,
please.
actually.
Yeah.
And this is what I just, so I just love the chances of opportunity. And Bríd O'Connell, who's the CEO of Guaranteed Irish, she's an amazing woman. She
who has never been on here, and I hereby
invite
invite Bríd to come on, please.
Oh, Bríd, you have to. I'll tell you, you have to. She is amazing and a champion of all things Irish. And Bríd contacted me about becoming a member, and I became a member a year and a half ago. And I have to say, everything that Guaranteed Irish have done has been so helpful. So I got into 2 categories of the awards last year: Best Food Supplier, sponsored by Supervalu, and the One to Watch. So after that, anyone that was in that shortlist. No, I didn't. But that's okay. It was year 1 and up against gin brands and family brands with loads of staff and everything. So I'm like, yeah, the fair play. We had a great day out though. I think Luke was 4 weeks old or 5 weeks old. It was
Luke being the baby, yeah.
Luke being the baby. So it was my first trip away for a half a day. And with the Guaranteed Irish, we were invited down to Cork when it was Food Month with Guaranteed Irish. And we had to display our products in a room. I think there was 5 of us, and Supervalu were there, and there was lots of foodie kind of people in the room. Bord Bia was there, and Glennisk were speaking on the day. And then at the very end of the event, we pitched to the room, and I had, which I'll probably talk to you about in a minute, had experience with a really serious pitch in the UK about 2 months before. So I kind of had done that and was fearless and pitched to the room, and I had my pitch down to a T. And a guy from Supervalu came up to me afterwards and was like, "Oh, give me your card, take me, I pitched really well. Like whatever happened." And then I got a call, "Can we get some samples?" Then I got another lead, then Health and Wellness Buyer. And then all of a sudden I'm listed. So it rolled out. It was supposed to be into 10 health food stores. Now it's in 54.
Now, roll back a little bit, because this is really interesting. I hadn't realised you've only just told me some, but not all, of the story as to what you were doing in the UK that happened to prep you for winning Supervalu that had nothing to do with Supervalu or prepping.
Yeah, so again, on the, I like to try and create opportunity by throwing lots of things in the air and seeing what will stick. January 2022, I was bored, frustrated that things weren't progressing as quickly as I wanted them to. So as a big fan of Dragon's Den UK or the BBC, I went onto the website and applied, right? And then forgot about it completely.
And just before you continue talking about the Dragon's Den, we have a growing number of listeners now in the US and the Connecticut. It's Shark Tank over there, just for them. So continue with Dragon's Den / Shark Tank.
Love Shark Tank. So I got a call then in March. I think it was my birthday weekend, actually, on the 25th of March last year, to say, would you do a pitch for filming 2023 season?
And you had simply gone onto the website, because you told me this, and you just sent in
It's a simple form, like all these forms, business, short, brief, what you sell, why are you unique, all that kind of thing. And got the call to pitch, had to record a 2-minute video over the weekend, had a couple of calls over and back, a couple of kind of vetting questions. And then I had to pitch again on the Monday. And then this kind of, at every point it was, we will never guarantee that you'll be getting called. You'll never guarantee that you will get to the next stage. So it's just very next stage. And I remember we had booked a holiday to Spain over Easter, and it kind of took over the week because I was on and off the computer on calls on a week that I was supposed to actually half chill out. And then eventually, I think it was the end of April, I got, okay, this is your date for filming on the 15th of May last year.
Do you get paid to go and be filmed?
No, absolutely not.
So it's on your dollar, as they say, yeah?
Everything. And, you have to ship stuff over to the UK, and then you have to think about the display table and what that's going to entail and all that. But it's more, oh, good Lord, this is going to happen. I'm going to stand in front of them. Oh, good Lord, you're going to be filmed. And, the prep and the due diligence they do is phenomenal. Like if you mention, my hair is black, prove it, send me all of the details. So you have to go over with a due diligence folder of proof of every single thing you've ever said, you have it. Amazing experience to go through. And the date, she said, was the 15th of May. And I just begged her, I said, please, can I have any other date, please, of the whole year? No, that's the only one. So we had sold our house. We were moving out on the 16th. My daughter's communion was the 14th, and Dragon's Den was being filmed on the 12th of May last year. So yeah, it's the craziest week of my life.
So you go in and what happens? Were they nice?
Okay, so yeah. Amazing experience. And yeah, they just didn't connect with me.
What does that mean in more forthright English?
I just, it was a tough.
I watch
it was
it
tough
all
to
the
take.
time.
It was tough to take.
What was tough about it?
They didn't get me. They didn't get my product. Nothing I said drew a smile in the whole hour and a half I pitched.
An hour and a half?
An hour and a half I pitched. I was on defense mode. I said, with all due respect, a lot, because I felt that they were a little bit on the harsh side.
Who was the harshest? Name me some names.
No, I won't. They just...
Man or woman?
Male.
Yeah, okay.
Male. And female, actually, one of each. So, yeah, it was tough. And you
told me when you came out you didn't cry. Did you want to cry?
No, I didn't. I got really annoyed. So I think I stood taller. And as I said, when things were said to me, I got really annoyed because obviously it's TV and because it's, they're judging you so harshly without knowing anything about your business or what you put into it. So one of the harshest comments for me was, I wouldn't spend another day on this business, And you're kind of going, how dare you? So how dare you?
I'd agree with you.
Make a past remarkable comment like that.
Yeah.
So I don't know whether they were in really bad form that day or I just, I thought I did well. But it just became a defense of each question.
So I take it you didn't get an offer.
I didn't. I heard I'm out 5 times and
you went out.
And I went out and it was amazing. It was like to open the doors and then you see, and what was most interesting was how close they were to me that I hadn't expected. And to look from one person to the other, back and forth like a ping pong, because you become really aware that there's 5 people looking at you and all the cameras that are around you hidden, but there's 5 people looking at you. So you're very conscious, as a child I was taught, you look from people, you look them in the eye when you're talking to them. So I was bouncing around the room, even though this person on the right had asked the question and kept asking the questions. I felt I was being really rude by not making eye contact with everybody else. I just couldn't get a smile off anyone. And that's very unusual for me to just hit a brick wall everywhere.
So you went tail between legs, off you went home.
It was really funny because the producer afterwards came in to check, are you okay and everything. I was hyper. I was so hyper. And I was like, no, honestly, I'm really fine. I'm really, really fine. And then I went and, got a glass of wine in Manchester in thing and rang my mom and, and sister and, cursed them out. And then went home. And then it was very strange because you're giddy. The Whoop bands, the Whoop bands that you wear to measure your heart rate and
yes,
and how you sleep and everything. I have a photograph of my Whoop band stats the morning after it. When I woke up in the hotel, I had to catch the flight at 8. And it was like, you're 38% in the red. You have suffered extreme trauma. And, so it was really interesting that I was completely broken, like physically, mentally exhausted from the whole experience. And then it was, okay, sure, look, it's going to air. So I had to, keep it quiet for a year. And then I found out I was pregnant. And then I moved house. And then I was waiting for January for it to air. And then it was the next week. Is it going to air? Over and back to the BBC. And it never aired. I was traumatized.
What
I was so upset.
A pain. I mean, it's also kind of a waste of your time and effort. And
I just wanted to share it, I just wanted to go. Yeah. It was fantastic. It was like, for watching it, I'm so proud of myself to do it. But they wouldn't even give me a picture of a still, I wanted a still that I could hang up my house of me in front of the dragons. I had a wicked outfit on, and I was like, no, can't, policy. So there's no evidence. Only I have one quick photo that I took of the changing room with the sign outside. And that's it, apart from...
I don't think you were there at all.
Yeah, no, I have the flights to prove it.
We have to go back quickly to Seedrs. For anybody who wants to back you, to back your product, tell them, first of all, in a sentence, what's in the product that's so exceptional and brilliant, and why, in a second sentence, they should back you.
There is no collagen and protein blend on the market that tastes so delicious. Simple. It's a dual product that saves you time and money. You don't have to bother with 10 packets of stuff in your press. It's one packet. It mixes in 10 different ways. Each of them you will crave, and it's just incredible.
And the backing. If anybody wants to back you on Seedrs or wherever, what can they do?
Anything from a tenner. The process is a little bit arduous, but anything from a tenner up to $1 million, you can back Juspy by just going to seedrs.com/Juspy. The campaign is live. I have a fancy promo video. My deck is there on request. You can just find out. You can ask me questions about the business, where I'm going, what I'm planning, and that's it.
And the name is Juspy, Juspy. Does that come from something, or where did it come from? Or
yeah, as I say always, it's totally made up. Okay. It's the phonetical spelling of Just Be. So when I created the idea for the brand and the product, it was, just have to get through this moment. It was a, changing moment in my life. It was, today is the day, the moment is the moment. The day changes so quickly. It can be great, it can be awful. You need nourishment to get yourself through. So Just Be. And then my brother, it's his idea. He said, spell it phonetically, because I was looking for the .com and the trademark. So 5-letter .com is easier.
Oh, happy days. Final question, and I know we asked you this the last time as well. Who would Leonie Lynch of Juspy hire in a heartbeat?
We're going to hire Gary V, only because just to market the absolute BGs out of Juspy.
And none of the dragons. I would have thought there was one particular dragon you'd love to hire.
There was before I went in there, and let's just say I've changed my mind.
Was he one of the not so nice men?
Let's just say I've changed my mind.
Leonie, please do not leave it for another 2 years before you come back. And maybe when you close out your Seedrs round, which could be done, is it fine at 30 days? Well, you might come back. At least tell us, 1, that it's closed, 2, what's the big plan? And 3, if you want to get your product into the US, talk to us, because Connecticut wants your product. Okay.
Amazing.
Leonie Lynch, thank you so much for joining us on That Great Business Show.
If it's for sale, it's on daft.ie, Ireland's #1 property website. Whether you're looking for your first home or planning your next move, make sure you're on daft.ie. The best place to buy or sell in Ireland.
De facto, the revolutionary shaving oil, changing the face of shaving. For the smoothest shave of your life, just add water. No more lathering up or cleaning up afterward. Just add a few drops of water and you're ready to go. De facto's blend of all natural oils hydrates and protects your skin. No more razor burns or irritation. A spa treatment for your face. Perfect for all skin types and lasts so much longer than traditional foams or gels. De facto, a shaving revolution. Just add water. Available from selected pharmacies and from defactoshave.com.
It's all go like Chrissy Gno on thatgreatbusinessshow.com. That Great Business Show.
We don't pass on opportunity on That Great Business Show. We're recording this episode of the podcast in a place called Farmington, Connecticut. Population 25,000. And I naturally started chatting to the studio co-owner about his business. And I loved it. A family business. Started with 1 unit, then 2, then 3, then 4. Family-owned, siblings. All of the things that could possibly go wrong. Jim Robinson, president of the Connecticut School of Broadcasting and some other businesses. Welcome to That Great Business Show.
Well, thank you. Thank you for having me.
I was just laughing away and I said, we've got to have you on because everything that you do and have gone through resonates with every family business owner, and you are only 3,000 miles odd from Ireland, but you're doing the exact same thing as every family-owned business in Ireland does, but you're succeeding.
Right. Seem to be.
Where did it all go wrong?
Where did it all go wrong? Where did it all start from?
Yeah.
So it started with my dad back in 1964. He had come to Connecticut from Massachusetts and started a radio show on a station called WDRC. And people used to call into that station and say, how do you do what you do? And he thought, you know what? I'm going to actually take a board and a tape recorder and a microphone and go down to my local hotel, and people can come in and I'll teach them how to do this business of DJing. And that's the way he started it. And from there, it kind of blossomed into Connecticut School of Broadcasting.
And it sounds smaller than it is, because the more I started chatting to you, I said, what? For example, here where we are sitting, you've got effectively a full small school, but a school-sized place. Yeah.
Yep.
And you told me that you have had kids over from Ireland learning here.
Yep.
So it's international, if you like.
It is international. People have heard about us. It's got quite a reputation in the broadcasting industry as a place to learn broadcasting. And we're different than college. We're a technical trade school, so students can come here and learn the trade of broadcast and not have to worry about student loan debt because we're a lot, cheaper than a college. Never want to knock college, never knock education. Education is a great thing. The way you can feed your brain is very important. But yes, you can do it with us for a lot cheaper. And you can also do it in part of time. It's an 8-week course, a 16-week course. So you can technically be in the business by the time you would have completed your first semester in college.
But would I learn how to talk like that?
Well, people are given the gift of the powerful voices and things like that. But I will say today in broadcasting, yes, the voice is important, but it also needs to sound real. If you're too boomy, sometimes nowadays that actually is a turnoff to some listeners. They rather hear that genuine voice.
I'm sure there's an ology behind it, but I love voices, and I'd listen to radio, not for what they're saying, how they're saying it. Now, back to this. This is Unit 1 was here in Farmington.
Right.
Then there's Unit 2. How did that come about?
So my father decided, you know what, maybe instead of people traveling to Farmington, why not open up in Stratford, Connecticut? So,
which is where?
It's down on the shoreline. It's about an hour I guess south and a little bit to the east point of Connecticut. So we put a school down there, and it seemed to do
very quickly. But where was the chat? What was the chat?
Well, the chat was before. I was probably 5 years old, 6 years old when the Stratford school opened. So I got involved with the school more, right around the age of 12, 13, 14. And because I was in engineering.
What were you doing at 12 here?
I was engineering. I would love to fix the equipment. And that's what I kind of, fell in love with this business. My father would have a problem with his studio. I would go in and fix it. He would say, hey, Jim, down at the school, there's a problem. Would you be able to figure it out? And I would go down there and try and do it. And that's the way I learned this business, was through the engineering. And I fell in love with the engineering.
So you opened a second unit, or your dad did anyway.
Yep.
And then there was a third unit.
Then there was a third unit. And there was a fourth.
Was that your dad's, or are they all your dads?
Yeah, they're all my dad's. And so he started opening up different branches. And I came to the school, I think, when I was 16, 17 years old. I think I was still in high school. And I was bitten by the bug of production. I loved producing radio shows. So I would make you sound great, and I would make my dad sound great, and I would make other people sound great. And then I got into the video side of things and really fell in love with the production side. And so when I left this school after I graduated, I went to the Archdiocese of Hartford. I started off in the Office of Radio and Television with another graduate who turned priest, Father John Gadzak. And then at the time, our archbishop had passed away. A new archbishop came in, and I had to go document all the meetings with the new archbishop at the Vatican with the Pope John Paul II. It was an amazing experience because there I am in the Pope's living room. And then the way things happen in this business is, next thing you know, CNN is looking for videographers, editors, satellite operators to travel the world with the Pope. I got picked up because I had all the security clearance to basically travel the world and work with Pope John Paul II on World Youth Day masses. And then my career kind of kept going. I worked at McGraw-Hill Publications doing sound design. I did a lot of work with Paul Newman. Paul Newman wanted me to go to...
Hold on. Yeah. Which Paul Newman?
The actor.
Get away.
Yeah.
I should again go back to the beginning here and say, I've only just met this guy. And so far, my mouth is just dropping. My jaw is... Continue. Paul Newman.
So,
nice guy.
So, awesome guy. Great guy, and very personable. very private too, but he would let me into certain parts of his world, which were just, I mean, when I say amazing, it doesn't even come close to summing it up. I mean, it's just amazing.
Did he allow you into his cars and drive his cars?
Not drive his cars, but I was in. He had this Volvo station wagon that was, the country. They called it the cross country. It was a famous Volvo over here.
I know it well. It's a beautiful car.
It's a beautiful car, but he turned it into a race car. It had a roll cage in it, and the thing was amazing. And the other most amazing thing about him, and this is kind of off topic, so I'll get back to what we are talking about here in a second.
This is That Great Business Show. You can talk about anything.
Yeah, you can talk about anything. But the interesting thing was he had a barn, and in this barn he had 30, 40-foot walls on them that went up to the ceilings of this barn, and it was his movie theater. And in that theater was 8x10 pictures going from the floor all the way up, 30, 40 feet in the air, all the way around of his behind the scenes pictures of the movies that he was in. And you talk about history. That's history. So he wanted me to go to film school to become an ACE editor, American cinematographer editor, which was a track that I was thinking about. And then my dad was saying, hey, just to bring it back to what we were talking about, are you ever going to get involved in the business? And I said, you know what? I'm getting married. I don't think now is the time to go to California. So I got involved in the business. But I told my dad, listen, I'll do this. But you were a jock. You built a school for people who want to be in radio. I want to expand it to be more production and kind of grow it with the television side of things. And that's what we did.
And then I did mention siblings because I've also met two of your siblings.
Right.
You're running a family business together.
A family business.
Now, I want to hear about, the hard stuff, the what we call in Europe, the warts and all.
Yeah.
The tough talk. Do you have a few rows?
Yeah, there's tough talk. I mean, the toughest talk that we had was during COVID. A business owner during COVID is, was a very interesting time for us. But it allowed us to grow. We actually rebranded. We changed the name of the school. And we went from broadcasting and we introduced other programs like filmmaking and web development and social media marketing and app development. And now soon we're going to be launching a music production, the recording arts type program. So, we took that time as unknowing as the world was, and we kind of rebuilt ourselves and kind of, I think, hopefully launched what we will be for the next century.
The pool that you're drawing out of is not vast. How do you find your students?
They find us through internet search, advertising, reputation, word of mouth.
How do you keep up both reputation and good word of mouth?
Relations with employers that employ our students, making sure that students who use this school properly get work in it is probably the most important thing. And, what we try and do here is I'm a product of this school, so what I try and do is remember what it was like for me when I came here, what I wanted, and make sure that student experience gets passed down to anybody that's here at this school.
Running a family business is tough. Discuss.
Yeah. Family business is, it's family. So some families get together for Thanksgiving and they talk about, their kids. They talk about, whatever the case might be. I'll sit here and talk to Chris and say, hey, Chris, maybe the air conditioning popped on. Maybe we should look into the buzz of the air conditioner. That's my subtle way of bringing that up. But anyway, it's Thanksgiving at the Robinson household is more about, how are things going? Where can we grow? And I have one sister who is basically saying, you know what? This should be family time. Well, my father, as old school as he is, it's, what he wants to talk about is business and his business 24/7. Yes, he threw the ball with me. Yes, he was there for my little leagues and graduations. I idolized the man and he grew an incredible business. He had an incredible life. And, they say, you'll never fill his shoes. Well, no, I'm not going to fill his shoes. All three of us are trying to fill his shoes, all my sisters and myself, and all together, we're pretty much one of him.
And you could have been in Hollywood.
Could have been. I often think about that. I keep my foot in the business. I'm always trying to learn the latest tools and the newest softwares and everything else. I'm very happy with being a part of this business. You know, they say, hey, if you like what you do, you'll never work a day in your life. I don't work, you know, because I love this. And I get to do this, plus I get to do the production, and I do a lot of different sound on the side.
You will not be familiar with the podcast, but we do on every episode say that we give you tips, insights, and business opportunities. Give me 1, 2, 3, as many as you would like, tips for other small enterprise owners that you say, do you know what? This is the one that I learned, and this is the one that really changed things, or this is the one I would keep away from.
You know, it's funny. We sold our business back in 2006. We sold the school to a hedge fund company, and they took it. And the first thing that they did was they took the alumni posters down. And I thought, why are you doing that? That's like the heartbeat of the school, you know? And the heartbeat to any business, I think, is the people that walk through the door. And I think you have to treat them with the utmost respect and give them any kind of customer satisfaction that's going to make them want to come back for more, or tell other people, hey, if you need, you know, a candy bar, this is the place to go because they're just great, you know? And that's what it is. And that company that we sold to took the heartbeat out of the school, and the school died. And we ended up getting the schools back through a bankruptcy court, and we rebuilt them.
Well done, you. All of this brand new to me. Yep. But I'm delighted that you ended up on the word heartbeat, because there is a final question that we asked all of our own alumni. Yeah. That is, Jim Robinson, who would you hire in a heartbeat?
Unfortunately, probably the person that I would hire is passed, and that's Paul Newman. Great man. Father John Gazak, anybody that was an inspiration in my life, you know, that got me to where I am. Even goes back to my, 7th grade, 8th grade teacher, Mr. Urban. People that motivated me to become great. As far as people that your listeners might know, I guess for our film department, I would hire Spielberg. For coding and everything else, Zuckerberg, and social media, Mr. Zuckerberg. And maybe for broadcast, I would just keep my dad. He's a legend, and he's so knowledgeable in this business, and there's nobody better than he. Your folks in Ireland might not know him, but his name's Dick Robinson, and he is just a genius.
And he was very big in rock music, is that right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. There's pictures down the hall of him interviewing the Beatles, the Rolling Stones, Cher, all kinds of people.
Well, what a legacy. And as I say, we just took the opportunity because I love the backstory, and I'm loving it even more now. Jim Robinson, thank you so much for joining us on That Great Business Show.
Well, thank you for having me.
And just a little back reference regarding that interview. We recorded 4 interviews over an entire day at Jim Robinson's studios in Farmington, Connecticut. When we went to pay our agreed fee by credit card, a lightning strike had temporarily knocked out their Wi-Fi. So they insisted on not charging us at all, not even later. That's the kind of lovely people you will meet in Connecticut. And that's why we say again, it's a great place to base your business in the US. And that's it from That Great Business Show, episode 165, Great Business Insights and Inspiration, all thanks to our lovely sponsor, daft.ie, Ireland's #1 property website. If you're looking for your first home, or maybe you're looking to upsize or downsize, make sure you visit daft.ie to find that next place you call home. Sign up for email updates, and we'll send you your own personal copy of the podcast at thatgreatbusinessshow.com. You can also use That Great Business Show to advertise to an incredibly engaged audience, around 3 times higher engagement than other podcasts. We record at the Dublin South Podcast Studios, where today's studio engineer is Delightful O'Dwyer, or Alison to friends. Later, the dynamic duo of studio manager Peter Rice and post-production engineer Neil Horner ensure we remain the world's best-sounding business podcast. So from me, Conal O'Moran, buchas to you all agus slán tamil.